All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something truly fascinating, the ancient wisdom of sacred plants, but we're going to do it through the eyes of a scientist, a guy who literally traded his lab coat for the Amazon jungle. And let me tell you, what he found out about nature and about consciousness itself, it just might change how you see, well, everything.
And this quote really sets the stage. It's from our guide on this journey, biologist Gabriel Beltran. We are a universe as an individual. Think about that for a second. This is the core idea we're going to unpack today. This feeling we all have of being separate from the world? Yeah, what if that's just an illusion?
Okay, so let's get into it. First up, a scientist's journey from the lab to the Amazon. The big question here is, who is this guy, Gabriel Beltran? And really, what makes a traditionally trained scientist just pack it all in and head deep into the world of indigenous shamanism? It's a pretty wild career change, right?
Well, first off, his credentials are rock solid. We're talking biologist from the National University of Columbia, a botanist with a master's in biodiversity. He's done tons of botanical expeditions. But, and this is the part that changes everything, look at that last point. He lived for 5 consecutive years with indigenous communities in the Colombian Amazon. This wasn't just some short research trip, you know? It wasn't about collecting a few plant samples and heading home. This was a total immersion. It became his life, and it completely changed his understanding of the world.
So, what did he learn during those 5 years? Well, that immersion introduced him to a totally different worldview, a philosophy that connects, well, everything. The communities he lived with operate on a principle that some modern thinkers have a name for: deep ecology. And here's what's so important to understand. Deep ecology isn't just some, abstract idea you'd read about in a textbook. For the communities he lived with, it's a practical, everyday reality. It's this deep, deep understanding that nothing exists by itself. You're not just in the environment, you are the environment. I mean, think about it. Every atom in your body was literally forged inside a star millions of years ago. It's all one big, interconnected story.
And this cosmic story, this timeline, really paints the picture. You start with the Big Bang, then atoms and compounds start to form. Then bam, DNA, the molecule of life, shows up. From there, life just explodes, from tiny microbes to all the plants and animals we see. And finally, human consciousness. But see, in this worldview, consciousness isn't some special thing that sets us apart from nature. No way. It's simply the universe becoming aware of itself through us. We're the universe's eyes and ears.
So if you believe everything is connected, how do you learn? Well, knowledge isn't just taught, it's observed. Gabriel tells us an incredible story about how the shamans found a cure for a venomous snakebite. Did they do trial and error with thousands of plants? Nope, they just watched. They saw an animal get bitten, and then they watched that animal frantically search out and eat one specific plant. And guess what? It neutralized the poison. The answer was right there, in nature, the whole time. Okay, so this deep observation of nature, it led to what you might call an ancient technology. And this is where we get to probably the most famous example, ayahuasca. Now, it's really important to get this next part. The indigenous communities, they don't see this as a drug in the way we might. To them, it's a highly sophisticated technology, a tool for healing, for learning, for accessing information.
And this leads to a question that just blew scientists' minds for decades. The Amazon rainforest has something like 80,000 different plant species. So how in the world did they figure out that you had to mix 2 very specific plants together to make this technology work? I mean, the odds of discovering that by random chance are, well, they're basically 0. So how did they know?
Okay, so let's deconstruct this formula. It's basically a 2-part system, and the biochemistry here is just brilliant. First, you've got the chacruna leaf. This plant contains DMT, which is the powerful visionary compound. The shamans call this the light. But here's the catch. If you just consume this leaf by itself, absolutely nothing happens. You also need the second part, the ayahuasca vine. This contains something called harmine, and they call this part the inhibitor.
So how does it work? It's amazing. Our bodies have this natural defense, an enzyme in our gut called MAO, that instantly destroys DMT. So without the vine, the DMT from the chacruna leaf gets broken down before it can do anything. No effect. But, and this is the absolute genius of the whole thing, the harmine from the vine inhibits that enzyme. It basically tells the MAO to take a break, and that allows the DMT to get into your system, cross into the brain, and boom, the visionary experience is activated. It's literally a biochemical key unlocking a door in your brain.
And what's even crazier, this wasn't some fluke discovery made in one place. Different cultures all across South America figured out this exact same chemical principle independently.
They found different paths to the same destination. So in the Piedemonte region, they use the leaf. Over in the Orinoco, they use a type of seed. And get this, some groups in the Amazon don't use a second plant at all. Their ritual involves things like multi-day dancing, which is thought to make the body produce its own DMT, which is then activated by the vine. I mean, wow, it's the same core idea, discovered over and over again.
So, this brings us to Gabriel's own personal journey into consciousness. As a scientist, he wanted to truly understand what this molecular key was unlocking. So he conducted an experiment on himself. He decided to experience the active ingredient directly, using a pure, crystalline form of DMT to see what was on the other side.
And what happened? Well, he says the first thing was that all sound just disappeared. Total silence. Then a cold wind seemed to sweep through him, and a high-frequency hum started to build, getting louder and higher until it was the only thing in existence.
And then he wasn't in the room anymore. He found himself in what he could only describe as another dimension. And there, blue beings were waiting for him. He said they were clearly intelligent, and they just calmly examined him, like scientists studying a new specimen.
Then they showed him two doors. Behind the first door, he saw these dark figures, just trapped in suffering. He immediately recoiled, his mind jumping to his own family, his daughter. So they closed that door and opened the second one, and behind it was his entire family, all together, warm and happy around a fire.
And in that moment, seeing them, he said he just understood everything. It wasn't a thought, it was a total, instantaneous knowing. He knew what his life was about, what truly mattered. And as soon as that understanding clicked into place, he was gently brought back, right back into his body, fully conscious.
So, how does a scientist even begin to explain something like that? Well, Gabriel has a hypothesis, and it's a fascinating one. He believes the pineal gland is like an antenna. His theory is that DMT supercharges it, creating this powerful electromagnetic field. We're like radio antennas, he says, and this allows us to tune into, well, other frequencies, other channels of reality that our normal five senses just can't pick up.
Which brings us to the ultimate question, right? What's the point of all this? Why go through these incredibly intense, often very challenging experiences? What is the ultimate purpose here?
Well, according to the wisdom traditions that have been doing this for thousands of years, there is just one answer. This is not for fun, it's not a party, it's not about escaping reality. The entire journey, with all its difficulty, is about one singular thing. And that one thing is to live a better life. That's it. This is a serious, structured process. You have to prepare your body, your mind, your spirit. The experience itself, the connection to the whole, that's just step two. The real work, the hard work, comes after. It's about taking what you learned and actually integrating it into your real day-to-day life.
So what are those lessons? Well, they're pretty universal. It's about learning real humility, about strengthening your family bonds, about living a good, harmonious life, not just with people, but with nature. It's about understanding your place in the universe, and ultimately, it's about learning how to die well without being afraid. The whole point is to become a better, more whole human.
And that really leaves us with a powerful final thought to chew on. What if the best way to understand the universe isn't by looking out, but by looking in? What if the greatest discoveries require us to first explore ourselves? Thanks for joining us for this explainer.